What's up YouTube? I'm back at it again. So today I want to go into specifics about rigging the red Komodo to make your red Komodo the cinema beast that it needs to become. Because if you're buying a red Komodo, you need to rig it out. The camera needs some accessories. There is a pay to enter fee, so to speak, to get the full capacity out of the camera. And there's a bunch of accessories out there, and there's a bunch of videos talking about accessories. And through me watching all these videos when I first bought the Komodo, as well as buying a bunch of accessories, I am going to tell you the must-need accessories to make this a fully cinema camera. Battery solution. I've talked about it a bunch, but I want to go into specifics. So this is my battery plate. A V-mount battery or gold mount battery plate. You need one for the Komodo. You're not gonna buy a Komodo and only use BP, so you need some kind of V-mount option. Now, Wooden Camera makes some, Tilta makes some, and there's a few other brands out there that make battery plates. Core makes a pretty good one, and I'm gonna talk about why I chose this one. This is the Tilta breakout box V-mount battery plate. I don't exactly remember the technical term, advanced power module, something like that. So first I got the Wooden Camera backplate for the V-mount. I got it because I've always liked Wooden Camera, as you know from my other videos. I've never had really any issues with their stuff. So I was like, this is great. I like that it kind of had an opening so I could feed cables through the back, as well as having one of the left slots, if you're not using their breakout box, to have a BP battery on there to do hot swapping of the batteries, so you don't have to shut down your camera to switch out your V-mount batteries. The downside of that plate is it does not send any voltage because it is a passive plate, so you do not get any battery readout. Now that's fine if your V-mounts have a little screen on it to tell you the power level of it, but for most V-mounts they just have, oh, this battery's dead right now, but it would light up if I hit that button. That's fine for an estimate, but when you're getting down to the 2 mark or 2 to 1 mark, it's a little sketch unless you have a better idea, a number of, oh, when do I switch it? When should we switch, cut? If you're running a bigger commercial shoot or music video, you don't want to be in the middle of a cut and then your camera dies and sometimes you lose that data. It's just not ideal. So right away, it wasn't for me, so I sold it. Then I got the Core backplate that looked very similar to this. It didn't have the breakout section, but it was a 2 BP plate, so you did lose the hot swapping, but you got passive power through, which I thought was really nice. But when I was working on higher budget commercials, I was running into an issue where I would have the first AC wanting to hit stop and start with the follow focus system that we were using, or having time code in. We had to do some creative rigging, or we just couldn't use some of the stuff like the start and stop, which just makes it a little more difficult. If it's raised up high for a shot, you have to bring it down low to hit the off button to stop the recording, and it just is a little annoying. And these are the little things that unless you're doing these shoots, you won't really have an issue with. But if I'm talking to someone who has the Komodo, who's working on higher budgets, this is something to maybe think about. So I was in the search. Now, Horseshoe, I don't know the actual name, but it's called the Horseshoe. I'll put a picture up. That was a breakout box that went on the top that had the power start and stop, gen lock or a time code, and control. The options that were out there, GDU made a little breakout box, Wooden Camera made a breakout box, but it wasn't what I needed. I really wanted that start and stop. So I was gonna buy the Horseshoe. But then Tilta came out with this battery plate that kind of solved the issue. I had a V-mount plate, and I also had all the start and stop control for camera control, time code, and gen lock on there. So I have all my options, as well as a USB, 2 LEMOs, another USB, DTAP, USB, and 2 LEMOs. $400, I believe, but I sold the Core for $200, and that Horseshoe adapter was $400 as well. So getting this saved me $200, even though I had to sell that. So definitely necessity. I recommend this plate. I know some people online had issues where the battery would slide out. I think that was just early issues, because I don't have that issue. I'm I don't want to break it. Obviously I could break it, but it's not coming out. So I think that was just maybe prototype issues. I've had nothing but success with this. super great, fun, awesome time. Now, this is kind of a given, but I'm just gonna say it. A monitor, specifically a 7-inch monitor. Again, you can get a 5-inch, like I said in the other video, but I think a 7-inch really is that soft space where you'll have it for as long as, you know, foreseeable future. You can even pull focus off of this. If you're doing a first AC gig, you can bring this. You can have it as a director's monitor if you're doing a directing gig. A 5-inch you can use as a camera monitor and basic camera monitor. So why are you talking about, you know, a 702 touch or 703 bright? I know Portkeys make some, but I'm just not familiar with their brands. But the reason why I'm talking about a monitor in this video for the accessories for a Komodo to make it a cinema camera beast is because Red Control works with this monitor. It also works with the Portkeys, but I'm talking about this monitor because this is the monitor I have. Small HD, an amazing monitor. Pretty simple, just go over it. Has HMI in and out, has SDI in and out, also has, what is this? 1034V volt battery, you know, kind of little standard plug in and out, as well as MPF. And you can also get a V-mount battery plate, but I guess for director monitor, it would be the only reason why you would use it. But if you're just using it simply for a camera monitor, you don't need the V-mount. And this little black box here is the secret sauce to make it show the menu of the Komodo. Why is this important? Well, obviously, using the Komodo, you want to use all the menu functions and you don't want to have to be fiddling on this tiny screen down here. It's great when you have it, but you're going to want a bigger monitor. This gives you the ability to change everything. You can go through media, you can scroll through. It literally just takes this menu and puts it on a bigger monitor. Super nice. These two don't play too well together, and let me explain. On the back of the Komodo, we have the EXT, SDI, and then the power. EXT is the only external power module that is on this camera. Some cameras have a little more. Obviously the Komodo, this is a fallback of the Komodo. It's very small, not as port heavy, right? And I talked about that in the video with the C70 and the FX6. But there is a obvious workaround. So when you use this plate, because you're using these ports, you need to use the EXT port. So this cord right here goes into here, click, and then you lose the ability to run the original cable that comes with this little menu box from Small HD, because it would normally go into here. But Small HD, this is just like a standard monitor cable. It is another $110. This is, and maybe you can call them, and like if you're only gonna run it off of like a setup like this, you can maybe figure out something. I don't know if they can like switch out the kit. That's something you'd have to ask them. They have really good customer service, you know, why not ask? But this little item right here, you have to buy separately, but then it allows you to plug in this into now 4 LEMO little port here, giving you the same control, just with a different cord. So that's just something to know. You will have to buy a separate item. Look how sad this camera looks now. We're just ripping it apart. So the last, but definitely not least, a Kepper tie variable ND adapter. Arguably the most important item on this list. This adapter is truly a game changer when it comes to accessories for the Komodo. A necessity if you are buying the Komodo to be a cinema camera. Now, it is expensive, retail around, I think, $1,800. It's from Europe, so the number's gonna look differently, but I believe I paid like $1,800 for it. It takes about 2 to 3 months to get here. So there is a little bit of wait, but what this does is it turns your RF mount camera into PL, positive locking system, the industry standard for any cinema lens. A PL lens. It's a little separate note. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but if you're ever going to get a cinema lens, invest in a PL mount. Like I said, it's the industry standard. It allows you to bring them on the sets more, rent them out. I don't see it changing in the foreseeable future. It's the most sturdy mount because the PL stands for positive locking system. This has the fins in, you twist it, it locks into place. It's much stronger and robust than the standard DSLR spring mount system. And on top of it, every system has a PL adapter. You can have a Sony E to PL, you have an EF to PL, you have an RF to PL. Every camera has a PL adapter, which means your lenses will not be stuck to a certain mount, like an EF mount, an E mount, an RF mount. I don't even know if they're making cinema RF lenses yet. Yes, you can change it. There's places that have like changeable mounts, but then you have to get into shimming and like making sure that your focus and parfocal is correct. And that is just a hassle, or you gotta go get it serviced. It's much easier just buying straight PL mount and then having an adapter. That is my little PSA about PL mounts. Invest in PL glass if you're gonna buy cinema glass. If you're doing photo lenses, get the native mount. You know, I know there is a focus reducer and Canon makes it, so I'm sure it's fine, but like I would even stay away from there. You're buying a Super 35 sensor, use it as it's designed. If you don't like that, then get a full frame camera. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. If you want a full frame camera, you can get the FX6. But on this particular camera, it does two things. Besides the PL, it also has built-in NDs. That was an issue with this camera as far as the C70 and the FX6 both have built-in NDs. Obviously, that is a plus for those cameras. This gives you the ability so you don't have to fiddle around with NDs on the front of the lens. You got clear, 0.6, excuse me, 1.2, and 2.1. The clear is extremely nice because it gives you the ability to not run a filter, but if you take this out, it will mess with the focus. So you need to have this little disc in, and that's with anything. Anytime there's any kind of glass going behind the lens, it changes the focal plane. That's a pitfall of the Canon. This is the standard one, but the one with the filter in the back. So you are regardless having like 0.6 ND filtration. You can't get away from it. These three items are the best accessories that you can buy. There's other breakout boxes, there's other battery plates, there's other monitors. These are the ones that I deem are the best. I hope this helped in your accessorizing needs. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.